Welcome again to Ancient Tales for Today. Well, in our last lesson, we talked about listening to good advice. I think that there are a lot of people that like to give us advice. Sometimes we're not willing to listen. Sometimes, we are willing to listen. Moses listened to his father-in-law, and it was very good for him, very good. Now, in today's lesson, we return to the stories about the Hebrews, 希伯来人. Okay, today's lesson, number 53, Getting Attention, 令人注意. So stay by for another interesting ancient tale.
Number 53, Getting Attention. Sometimes it is necessary to shout to get people's attention. If there's a fire in the building, for example, you let people know by shouting, "Fire!" A teacher who wants to control a wild group of students has to raise his voice so that they will listen. You cannot be educated if you are not paying attention. Moses was trying to lead the people, but they kept on complaining and they weren't doing what was right. So they needed to have rules and to be told to obey. In order to get their attention, the people needed to hear some shouting. They were not listening much to Moses, so the shouting had to be something very dramatic and supernatural. The people were camped at Mount Sinai. God made the mountain shake, and there was a cloud of smoke with lightning. And when they saw this, the people were terrified, and then they were ready to listen. I'm sure I would be too. If I was standing at the bottom of a mountain that was smoking with thunder and lightning, I would certainly not be chatting with my friends. I would be wondering what was going to happen. I would be rather afraid, I think. The people were afraid, but Moses wasn't. Why not? Because he knew the reason why all this was happening. If you know someone is kind, if they start shouting at you, then you know it is for a good reason. Moses knew the one, God, he was following was not a nasty person. He knew that all the noise and smoke was just to get the people to stop what they were doing and to listen to what they needed to hear. We also need to pay attention to all that is true and right, and listen to the voice of heaven when we are told what we should do.
Sometimes it is necessary to shout, 大声叫, to get people's attention, 令人们注意. You know, it's kind of like we're kind of numb, 麻木了. So when somebody shouts, man, I can tell you many, many stories where my dad shouted at 我爸爸这个大声叫, but there was a good reason for it. Very good reason. Sometimes it's necessary, 必须要大声叫, to get people's attention, 要令人注意. Now, if there's a fire in the building, okay, the building that you're in, 这个建筑物, for example, 做一个例子, if you let people, know by shouting, You let people know by shouting, fire, fire. Okay? You don't, so, well, I think there's a fire in the building. No, you don't do that. To get people's attention, you've got to, You've got to raise your voice. A teacher who wants to control a wild group of students. Okay? Now, it's interesting that we use the word wild here. Wild usually means, when we use it, 野生的, okay? But in this case, 放纵 probably is a better way. 一群放纵的学生, that means they are out of control, 无法控制. Okay. A teacher who wants to control a wild group of students has to raise, 提高 his voice, 他的声调, okay, so that they will listen. Of course, if you do it all the time, that's probably not good, because then pretty soon people get used to you raising your voice. But Oran, you raise your voice, oh, people kind of like, whoops, what's happening here? What's happening here? Okay, you cannot be educated if you are not paying attention. I think that's an important sentence. 如果你不注意的时候 paying attention, 你根本没有办法学到东西. Isn't that true? You think about it. You cannot be educated. 你没有办法受到好的教育 if you are not paying attention. Now, I'm a teacher, and I'll tell you, one of the things that really bothers me is simply this. When, well, let's see if I can do this. Yeah. And I'm talking away, and I'm talking away. What do you think? I think they need to pay more attention. It looks like they're going to sleep, right? Going on. Moses was trying to lead the people. He was trying, 他现在是努力的带领这些人 but they kept on complaining. 继续不断的 kept on complaining, 抱怨. And they weren't doing what was right. And they weren't doing what was right. 他们也不做对的事. They weren't doing what was right. So they needed some rules. 他们需要一些规则, okay, 规矩. And they needed to be told to obey. They needed to have some rules, and they needed to be told to obey. In order to get their attention, 所以为了要令他们注意, the people needed to hear some shouting. 那些人必须听一些大声叫. Okay? Okay, now, here's the problem. Who's going to shout? Moses? Already they were not listening to Moses. 已经到这个地步，他们已经不听摩西啊。They're not listening to them. They said, oh, he's talking again. They're not paying attention. So the shouting had to be something very dramatic and supernatural. Okay? 所以不管是谁大声叫 it had to be very dramatic. Dramatic 强烈又超人的 supernatural 而超然的 supernatural. It's not human, and it has to be 强烈 dramatic. And if the shouting is loud like that, so Moses can't do it, right? Who can do it? Of course, the only answer is Shen, God. God has to do the shouting to get people's attention going on. The people were camped at Mount Sinai, 西乃山. They were camped. 他们的扎营在这个西乃山. God made the mountain shake. 这个使那个山震动 shake. And there was a cloud of smoke, 有冒烟 with lightning, 闪电. Whoa! People started to pay attention. Now we'll see what happens next. But first, we need some light on our path. Okay, Lena, we're coming now to a new bit of light on our path. Let's take a look at Deuteronomy 5, 4 and 5.
申命记的第5章第4节和第5节
It says here, the Lord spoke to you face to face out of the fire on the mountain. At that time I stood between the Lord and you to declare to you the word of the Lord, because you were afraid of the fire and did not go up on the mountain.
经文说，耶和华在山上从火中间面对面与你们说话。那时我站在耶和华和你们中间，要将耶和华的话传给你们，因为你们惧怕那火没有上山。
Okay, now here's a question for you, Lena.
好，
Why do you think that God had fire on the mountain, 有地震, earthquake, and he had a loud voice? Why do you think God would do something like that?
我想可能是上帝用这些个声音啦、地震啊、震动啊，来引起那些以色列人的注意，对不对？
Right. Tell me, sometimes when your child was small, and you just quietly spoke to the child, what did the child do?
有的时候是很大声啦。
Okay, yeah, but why, if you had a soft voice, 那这个小小的声音，
他不会听的，他不会听的，他会做他自己的事。
Yeah, that's exactly right. So sometimes God needed to use a loud voice to get people to pay attention.
引起他们的注意。
Yeah, and this is important because sometimes if you're very nice and quiet, then you don't pay attention. Well, that's about all the time we have for Light on the Path. When the people saw this, saw what? When the people saw the lightning, and when they saw the smoke coming out of the mountain. In fact, the mountain was shaking. Oh my, it was shaking. When the people saw this, they were terrified. Terrified. 非常非常害怕. Okay? They were terrified. Then they were ready to listen. Of course, when the ground you are standing on, 你所站的地就开始震动了. I'm sure that you would be willing to listen too. We all would be. So this was God's way of saying, hey, pay attention. I want to say something. Now, if I was standing at the bottom of the mountain, 如果我是站在这个西乃山的脚下, okay, and it was smoking, 冒烟, and there was thunder, in this case, 雷声啊, and lightning, 闪电. Whoa! I would certainly not be chatting with my friends. Okay. Now, what does it mean to chat? Chatting means 聊天 with my friends. 跟朋友们聊天. I think all of the chatting, all of the small talk would stop, and people would pay attention. Sometimes we even say they would be breathless, like almost they stop breathing. I would be wondering, 我肯定会想 wondering, 想, okay, in this case, thinking, wondering, it's what goes on in your mind. I would be thinking, wondering, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? I would be, I think it's safe to say I would be a little bit afraid. I think I would be afraid. Well, for sure, the people were afraid. 肯定这个人民都很害怕. But Moses wasn't. Actually, one place it says that even my knees were shaking. Even though his knees were shaking, he was not afraid. Why? Oh, by the way, what does it mean when your knees shake? 这个膝盖相碰 But he still, even though it was scary, he was not afraid. 不是那么这个害怕. At least, 至少 he knew, because he knew the reason why all this was happening. 他知道这些事情的来源. He knew why it was happening. 为什么发生这些事情? Now, if you knew someone is kind, if you knew someone was kind, kind, 很仁慈, 他是好人. And if they start shouting at you, 突然间他们就开始向你大声叫, then you know there is a good reason. It is for a good reason. 是好的原因啊. People just don't do things like this without a reason. 不是 无故的大声叫。There's a reason why people raise their voice, 提高他们的声调，大声叫。Going on. Moses knew the one he was following. Now you'll notice that in what I've written out here, I capitalize 大写 O-N-E. He knew the one. 他认识那位 he was following. 他跟从的那位。When I capitalize it, then it usually means that it's referring to God. In this case, I put the brackets there, and so you are able to tell, in this case at least, that I'm talking about God. So Moses knew that the one he was following, 他跟从的那位, was not a nasty person. Okay? Now, the word nasty, I must tell you, the word nasty has many different meanings. So you have to sort of figure out what the context, 这个上下文. In this case, Moses knew that God was a good God. He is not a bad God. So maybe bad would be a way of nasty. Or 特别坏, nasty. Or 不讲道理的. See, Moses knew that God is approachable. You can come to God. You can talk to God. 他是讲道理的一个神. Okay? He knew all that noise and smoke was just to get the people to stop what they were doing and listen to what they needed to hear. So Moses knew that all the smoke and the fire and everything was just to get the people to stop and listen and hear what God wanted to say. And sometimes even I think that we need to pay attention to everything that's true and right. We need to pay attention to what's true and right. And listen to the voice of heaven. 特别是听天庭天国的所说的话. Especially when we are told what we should do. 特别是这个神告诉我该做的是什么. That's the time, of course, for us to kind of turn up our ears and listen and see what God is trying to say to us. Well, we've come to the end now. There are a few words you need to know. Stay by for a few words you need to know. Now for some words you need to know. Well, we're going to begin with actually the title, and that is to get a person's attention.
是引起人的注意。
Can you say attention?
Attention.
Good, very good. Attention, 引起人的注意. And of course, God wanted to get their attention, to talk to them. The next one is a very simple one, and that's fire. Or, here, fire.
意思是说着火了，着火了。
Okay, now the word fire, F-I-R-E, just means 火.
对，
But if you use 大声叫的话, fire, then it means 着火了.
对，
Okay, let's go on to another one. dramatic.
戏剧化。
Okay, dramatic. We say a story is very dramatic. 很戏剧化的一个 story.
对。
And you know what happens? If the story is very dramatic, what happens to your
哇，
heart?
很紧张，一直想听下去哦。
Yeah, 心脏跳得蹦蹦跳。
嗯
Yeah, that's true. Okay, another one, lightning.
闪电。
闪电. Okay, lightning. And then thunder is 雷声啊,
Oh.
But it's not here. But here in our story, it's
闪电。
闪电, lightning. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for words you need to know. So we looked in these stories, especially this last one, number 53, how God got the people's attention. He took a mountain, he shook the mountain. Smoke was coming out of the mountain, Maoyan, and there was 闪电, 打雷的声音. So this people start to pay attention when things like this happen. And he shared some good things that the people needed to listen to. Now we're going to come on to the next lesson, some very important lessons. So for sure, you'll want to join us the next time for the next lesson, the basis for obedience. Why do we obey? 为什么听从? So, join us next time for another interesting story.
That's all for today, and thanks for watching. If you like Ancient Tales for Today, please visit atft.chinesehope.tv. You may also contact us by writing to ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Again, that's ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Tell your friends about Ancient Tales for Today. See you next time.